All right, everybody. Hope things are going well. Um, let's go through a couple of these issues, maybe some of these problems that we are looking at. Remember, this is 2.5, and this talks about exponential, exponential functions in data modeling. So this is kind of what we're doing. We're doing a lot of what we call data modeling, and we're taking some data that we're given in the context of things and kind of making an appropriate model. Now that model might have some errors into it, which is good because every model should not be perfect. The solar system model of our planets is not perfect. There is some error. I mean, that's kind of what science is all about. It's just asking those questions. But we're not science. But here we go. So we're going to take some data here. We're just going to focus on two questions. We have some data here. And what we're going to do is make a model for this. And so A says that if I came up with an exponential exponential regression, okay, exponential regression, and the model looks like a times b to the x. Now, why do we know it's this? Because we see exponential. And we want to round off a little bit. So we have to kind of look at this and see what model best fits this data. So we're going to go to the calculator here. So I have a calculator for you that I found. And so we're going to go to this calculator and we're going to kind of look at this a little bit. So I think we're going to do this. We're going to go to not second, we're going to just go to stat. We're going to go to where it says edit. So just hit edit, and then you should have L1, L2, L3, all this good stuff in there, right? So in our data, L1 is going to be our information. So we can use it on here. I don't want to, and then hit enter. So you kind of can just put all the data in. Don't use minus sign because it's not a minus, but a -7. So you kind of do that. And then -1, and then 2. So there's the data for there. Now we're going to kind of use our buttons here and go into L2. L2 is the y functions, the the outputs, if you want to call them. And then you just kind of look at your numbers here, and I'm just reading them off here and just enter them. And then 280. Okay, so there you go. There's your numbers. So you have your data. You have your Y1, your L1 and L2, or X and Y, if you think about it. Now you want to kind of say, okay, well, I need a model that fits this data. So what you're going to do now is that you're going to go back into stat. What you're going to do is go over to where it says calc. So over calc, and then here's kind of the models. Now, what model best fits this data is really going to be up to you, because you're going to find out that it's not, real life doesn't tell you the model that best fits the data. You're going to have to choose one, and you have to know a little bit about the numbers. So, but we are given exponential. So if you go all the way at the bottom, it should say exponential regression. It could be natural log regression. It could be cubic, quadratic. That's really, you have to kind of dive into the numbers. But we know that it's exponential regression. So I'm going to go down at exponential, and I'm going to hit enter. And then it's going to give me L1, L2, which my number should be in there. And then it says store regression equation. Now, to kind of store it as an equation, we're going to go to what it says vars. You're going to hit vars. And what you're going to do is you are going to go to Y bars. So hit over like this. And then it says function, because we're doing functions. And hit enter. Now you could graph your equation, or you can put your equation on any one of these. These are, when you go to your graphing, when you go to plot, you can go over any one of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose the Y1, and it should say Y sub 1. And then you're going to go down to calculate, and then you're going to hit calculate. That right there is your exponential. You might want to write that down real quick. You can always go back to it, but I'm just going to go ahead and take a note of this. And that's what I would write. And you should round off the 3 decimal places. because that is something that you want. And just be careful what the equation is. You should match that equation up there where it says this right here, that guy right there. You might want to make it match that as best you can. And so you just round off just a little bit, and then this is going to be to the x value. All right, so there's your equation. Now, here's what you're going to do. After you do that, I want to see the graph. I want to see the graph. Well, you did that already. Here's what you're going to do. Go to y equals, and that's the numbers. I would not touch anything. I want to hit delete, hit clear. What I would do is just kind of like, okay, great. Now I can go to graph, but what you might want to do is just kind of go to zoom, and let's just go to the standard window. The reason we're going to standard window because we don't know how how the window size is. So we're just going to go to standard and then hit enter. And then we're going to just wait. Okay, now probably don't see anything. Well, that's okay. You might have to zoom. You can zoom out a little bit. So let's zoom out. Go to zoom out, and hit enter. All right, there it is. I see some work. So here's what I would do if I were you. I would get rid of this bottom and go over this way. So I would get rid of this bottom and then go over this way. So how to do that? Do you see where it says window? Go to window and it says, okay, I want to go more to the left. So I'm going to put in, instead of -40, what are we going to put? Let's put negative, what was it? Negative, I don't know, make it -60. And what the heck? Okay, the Y max. Go down the Y. Oops. You press too many buttons there. You have to be very careful. Jesus. Oops. Okay, what's going on here? Go to. It's very sensitive. And then you're going to go down. Wow. Okay. Let me back up here. Okay, go to zoom. Go to window. All right, let's press this again. Let's see. What about, I don't know. Why don't we do 5? Why are we doing 5? Because remember how we said we're going to go in. And then it says scale. Let's don't scale that. And then y sub 1. Remember, we're not going below the y-axis. So why don't we just make this -1 just to give it some wiggle room? And then how far should we go up on the y-axis? I don't know. Let's try 50. Maybe 60. Give it some wiggle room. Could we scale this? We could y-scale this a little bit if you want. But whatever. Let's just go ahead and graph. Okay, there you go. Now, that's the equation. No, that's the graph that we have. Now, here's what the question wants you to do. The question says, use the model to predict 0.5. All right, so a couple ways you could do this. Remember, you can go to, let's see, what is it? Second table, and look at where the inputs of 2 is. You can also just go to the function and go to the graph and just type in, go to trace, and just, what is it, 0.5. So 0.5 for trace. And that's the output it would give you. So this is, in this context, this would be, I don't know what the context of this one is, but it didn't give us any context. But this is what the value you would get. So you would say, okay, you would say at B, you would say at x 0.5, the y value is going to be about 20881? 817. I'm going to round up a little bit. That's fine. Okay, so that is that question. Now it says, according to the model, when will it be a 100? Okay, so to do this, everybody, is that you're going to go back to y equals. And the reason you go back to y equals because that's your function. What I'm going to do is go down to the next y2 because that's kind of like the next graph if you think about it. According to the information you're given, they are giving you an output. They want to find the input. So this is what you're going to do. What they gave you is an output. So we're gonna type in 100. The reason we're typing 100 because that's what they give you. They say, given the output at 100, what's the input? So we have 2 graphs here. This is our original graph. This is a graph of a horizontal line at 100. on the y-axis. If I hit graph, it might not show, because if you think about it, if you go to window, do you see where the y max is at? It's at 60. Didn't we put it in at 100? Look at it. Didn't we put that in as 100? So we got to go to window, and we got to get down to y max, and we got to go a little bit taller than 100. Let's try 105 to give it some wiggle room. 105 is fine. Now we could change the score here, so whatever. And there it is. Now I'm just going to do this again, everybody. I'm going to go to window, and I'm going to give this more wiggle room. I'm going to put 110, just because I want to give it some more wiggle room. And then hit graph. Okay, there you go. I'm looking at that point right there. That's the point of intersection that I want for the input. That'll be the input at that dot right there. That'll be the input. This is the output. That's the input right there. Now we can guess. Don't do that. But what you could do to get that location is, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to second, calc. Do you see where it says intersect? Hit enter. Do you see where it says first curve? Well, you got to tell the calculator, where to go. And you might have to do this a few times. And that's the first curve. So I'm going to kind of just say, okay, the first curve, I'm just going to guess. I'm going to hit enter. Boom. Now it says second curve. Well, the second curve is that line. Remember, it's not really a curve. It's just a line. So the calculator's kind of lying to you. It should say second line or second graph if you think about it. But I didn't invent the calculator. So we're going to go kind of close to it. We're going close. And we're going to hit enter. Then it says, well, you know what? I don't know. Take a guess. And I'm just going to kind of play around with this a little bit and just kind of get as close as we can. And I'm just going to say, you know what? Whatever. Take a guess. There's your intersection point. We know that the output is 100% or 100, and we want the input. So this is the value that you're going to give your graph. So this is going to say, well, you're going to say output at the output of 100. You're going to say x is, what is that? Negative 2.792. Okay. And then you can also do this. You can actually go down, and you can also type in 1,000, because I think the next step is 1,000. If you can do this, but you have to be very careful here, because if you go to window, remember you're only going up to 110. You want to go to 1,000. So go down to the thing, and let's type in a little bit more than 1,000. So let's do 1,100. Now here's what I would do. I don't want to look at a scale of 1. Good Lord, that's like just 1, 2, 3. No, why don't we fix the scale? Let's put the scale as maybe like, would 500 be okay? Let's try 500. Why? Because, I don't know, I don't want to waste the whole screen. Let's put 500. Let's see what happens. Okay. Do you see where that point is? So what you're going to do is that you're going to say, okay, I need to go that way. I need to move that way. So you're going to go down to window. And what one are you going to press? You're going to press this bottom one. And you're going to go like, well, let's go 20. Yeah, what the heck. Now, what you could do is take this and go to 10, because you don't need the left side of the graph a whole lot anymore. And then let's say, hey, there it is. Now do the same thing. Go to second, trace, go down to intersect, go to the first curve. Make sure you're on the right curve, by the way. Okay, be careful here. Since we have two graphs here, I don't like that one. So I'm gonna, you see what I did? See what I did here? I want to go to the second curve. Then I might have to hit it again. So use these up and down arrows to get to your next graph. So see what I'm doing? I don't want that graph. I want that graph. So I'm going to use these arrows and see how it goes on. Be very careful. And then hit enter. And then it says, oops, it says second guess, hit enter. And then hit enter and hit enter. Maybe I'm not doing this right. second curve, hit enter and guess. There it is. You just got to, what I would do is probably delete this graph and then do that way. It's up to you, but it still does it. You just got to, play around with the buttons a little bit. All right, so at 1,000, that's my intersection. So you might say for that example, you're going to say X is 7.504, and when Y is 1,000. Okay, so hopefully that helped on that problem. And let's do this. So let's kind of do this. So this is where we are. And so we have our data. We got the equation that we put in your calculator. We got our inputs and our outputs, and that's the thing. Let's do one more. Kind of clarify things a little bit. So maybe I have some data here, and I'm just going to make this one up. I don't want to just give you ones that maybe are kind of been proven or known. Let's just try something here. Let's take some time, some days, and let's put some money in. I don't know. After 3 days, maybe I have $50. This day I have $100. This day I have $150. This day maybe I have 110. I'm just making this data up. Now, do I know it's exponential? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm seeing some increase here, but I want to show you something here. Let's say that this was exponential. And how do you know? Well, I'm looking at the data. I know it's kind of going like this. If you want to, we can change this a little bit more just to convince you. Make this 200. And then make this one, I don't know, make it 400. There. Maybe that will work. So let's go ahead and play around with this data here. So what I want to do is take our calculator and insert this into the calculator, and let's just see what we create. So we're back at our calculator now. Let's go ahead and take our equation here. So you're going to, how to erase this, oops, go to quit, and then go with this, and then just hit delete, or hit clear, and hit clear, hit clear. Okay, you're back there. Remember what to do? You go to stat, you go to edit. The best way to do this is just hit delete, hit delete. Just put that information in. So 3, hit the enter, 5, enter, 7, enter, 10, enter, boom. Okay, and just kind of do this. You should practice this a few times. It really does help. Okay, there's your information. Now you're going to go to stat again. Go to calc. I said go to exponential equations. Enter, enter, enter. Remember what to do here? Go to vars. Go to that. Type that in. Hit enter. And there's your information. That seems about right. If you think about it. And then you're going to go to graph. There it is. And I'm going to go to zoom. This is standard. There it is. Now, what you might want to do is zoom out a little bit. And then see how you're not using this bottom piece? I would get rid of this. So go back to window, and I would leave that. I would probably change this a little bit, maybe make it 30. You could change this a little bit. You could make this like 20. Give yourself some room there. You don't need the bottom piece, so make it -1. But let's do the top. Why don't we do, let's do 100. And there you go. Now, let's say you wanted to figure out what that intersection is, the y-intercept. I think you can actually do this without doing a whole lot of headache. If you go to second table, do you see right there where it says x at x equals 0? That's my y-intercept. Just go back to the Algebra 1 days. And that's what you would look at when you're doing this. And you can actually just kind of do this, you know, as the days go on. I mean, it looks like my money is increasing at an incredible rate. I mean, I wish that was possible, right? All right. I hope that works out a little bit. And you just have to practice this calculator a little bit. And I know that is a little bit mind-boggling at first, but you got to spend some time with this calculator because this calculator can do a lot. And they're expecting you to know this too on the AP exam. All right. So I hope that was successful, and I will see you later.